The auction of desperation, the market, was louder than a thunderstorm, full of voices that didn't care about mercy. All around, aliens were shouting, trading, and laughing at others' pain. The air was thick with the smell of metal, sweat, and hopelessness. Chains clinked as the traders moved their merchandise, the slaves up and down the old stone platform. In the middle of this chaos, tall, thin alien woman stood holding her small son tight against her side. Her name was Sira, and her son Tycho was only 6 years old, with big yellow eyes that looked everywhere in fear. Sira's clothes were torn. Her skin was marked with old bruises, but her back was straight. She had only one thing left in the world, her son, and she would die before she let anyone take him away. A fat, gray-skinned trader with gold rings on his fingers shoved Sarah and Tycho to the front of the crowd. Next up, one adult female, one male child. The pair together, or separate, highest bidder takes, he yelled, waving his stick in the air. The crowd of buyers laughed. Some were aliens with sharp teeth. Others looked almost human, but with cold, empty eyes. Sira's heart pounded. She had heard the stories what happened to children separated from their mothers. She knelt down and whispered into Tycho's ear, "No matter what happens, hold my hand. Don't let go, Tycho. I will keep you safe." The bidding started. The numbers were low, barely enough to buy a new chain. No one wanted a used mother, and a child was only useful for the worst kinds of labor. A tall, red-eyed alien shouted, "Sell the child. The mother is useless." Another laughed, "She's too thin to work. Let's see if she begs." Sira swallowed her pride, and with shaking hands, she got down on her knees in front of the trader and the whole crowd. "Please, please take me instead. Let my son go. I'll do whatever you want. Just spare him." Her voice was loud enough for all to hear. She kept her eyes down, fighting her tears. The crowd roared with laughter. They had seen so many beg before, and it always ended the same. The trader looked bored. Nobody wants a mother who begs. Make a real offer, or both go to the mines. He pulled Tycho away, making the boy cry out. Sira leaped forward, grabbing her son's arm. "No, please. Punish me, not him. Please." A sudden silence cut through the noise. Shadow moved at the edge of the crowd. All eyes turned to see a tall human man step forward. He was dressed in plain, dark clothes, but something about him made even the toughest traders pause. His eyes were sharp, and his jaw was set like stone. No one had seen him before. The trader grunted. "What do you want, human? Looking for cheap labor? Or maybe you like desperate mothers? The crowd snickered. The human ignored them. He looked at Sira, then at Tycho, then back to the trader. He spoke in a calm, strong voice. "How much for both?" The trader blinked, then grinned, thinking he saw a fool. "For both. Nobody wants both. She's nothing but trouble. A deed will only slow you down. For you, a discount." The human nodded, not smiling. He pulled out a pouch and let coins fall into the trader's greedy hand. The sound of metal hitting metal was the only sound in the whole market for a moment. Even the crowd watched in shock. Sira stared at the ground, waiting for the next blow, the next command. She held Tycho even tighter, her heart breaking with fear and confusion. Why would a human buy them both? She had heard of humans, some cruel, some kind, but never like this. The trader shoved them towards the human. "They're yours. Good luck. Don't come crying when she causes trouble," he jeered. The human placed a gentle hand on Sira's shoulder. "Come with me," he said softly. Sira hesitated, but with Tycho's small hand in hers, she followed. The crowd parted for them, some spitting insults, others just watching with cold curiosity. As they walked away, Sira's mind raced with questions and terror. Would this human hurt her? Would he separate her from Tycho? Was this just another cruel trick? But the human said nothing cruel, and his grip was not tight. They walked through the dusty streets, away from the noise and laughter, into an uncertain future. Sira looked up at the sky, searching for a sign, but all she saw was the sun setting behind dirty clouds. She had offered herself to save her son, and a human had bought them both. But in this broken world, mercy was just another word for pain, wasn't it? Sira didn't know what would happen next. All she could do was keep walking, hold her son, and wait for the night. The story of Sira, her son, and the silent human had just begun. The human's decision, the walk from the market to the city's edge, felt endless. Sira's feet hurt, but she kept her head low and her hand tightly around Tycho's. The human, whose name she still didn't know, said nothing. He just walked ahead, his steps sure and steady, not pulling or rushing them. Sira's mind raced. With every possibility, work, punishment, worse. She dared not imagine freedom. As they left the noise behind, Sira felt the cold stares of other aliens. Some looked away, ashamed or jealous. Others whispered, "There goes another lost soul." Humans buy what no one else wants. Sira pretended not to hear. She kept her eyes on the dusty ground and tried to shield Tycho with her body. The human finally stopped at a small old building on the very edge of the city. It looked strong, but not fancy stone walls. A single wooden door, windows covered with thick glass. Sira glanced around. No guards, no chains, no barking dogs. Just silence, broken by the distant sound of city life. For a moment, Sira wondered if this was all a dream. The human opened the door. "Go inside," he said, his voice quiet but not cold. Sira stepped in, holding Tycho close. She was surprised to find the room clean and warm. There was a simple table, a few chairs, and 2 small beds against one wall. The air smelled of fresh bread. For the first time all day, Tycho let out a shaky breath. Sira stayed standing, unsure what to do. She watched as the human set down his bag, then turned to her. "Sit," he said gently, nodding toward the beds. Sira obeyed, pulling Tycho into her lap. She watched every move the human made, searching his face for clues. Was this kindness, or was it just the start of a new kind of pain? The human took some bread and water from a shelf and set them on the table. He stepped back, his face unreadable. "Eat," he said. Sira hesitated. She had seen tricks before, food poisoned, water drugged. But Tycho's hunger was stronger than her fear. She broke off a small piece, tasted it, then let Tycho eat. The bread was fresh, the water clean. The human sat across the room, watching but not speaking. The silence grew heavy. Sira finally whispered, "Why did you buy us?" Her voice trembled. The human's eyes met hers, and for a moment, Sira saw something she hadn't seen in a long time: tiredness. Maybe sadness, but not cruelty. He didn't answer her question. Instead, he asked his own. "What's your name?" Sira hesitated, but then said, "Sira. My son is Tycho." The human nodded, as if filing that away. The tension hung between them. Sira was ready for the next command. She waited for the words. "Work. Clean. Do as I say." But the human said nothing. He stood, walked to the door, and paused. "You're safe here tonight," he said. And then he left the room, shutting the door behind him. Sira flinched at the sound of the lock turning. But she realized he had not locked them in. The door was simply shut. Sira sat on the bed, hugging Tycho close. The boy finished his bread and curled up next to her. "Mama, is he going to hurt us?" Tycho whispered. Sira stroked his hair and shook her head, though her heart was full of fear. "I don't know, Tycho. We just have to be brave," I promised. "I'd keep you safe." Night fell outside the little house. Sira listened to every sound. Footsteps in the hallway, water running, the distant hum of the city. She couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the faces from the market, the laughing aliens, the cold trader, the silent human, as the hours dragged on. Sira tried to remember the last time someone had offered her food without asking for something terrible in return. She could not remember. She wondered who this human really was. Why had he bought them both when he could have left her in the dirt? Was it pity? Was it some dark plan? Sira held Tycho tighter. Suddenly, footsteps approached. The door creaked open. Sira tensed, ready to shield her son. But the human only stood in the doorway, holding a blanket. He set it at the end of the bed and said, "For the boy. The nights get cold." Sira nodded, too stunned to speak. Before he turned away, the human paused. "My name is Marcus," he said quietly. Then he left, closing the door behind him. Sira sat frozen, staring at the blanket. It was soft, new, probably bought just for them. She covered Tycho with it, tucking it around his small body. He smiled for the first time that day and whispered, "Thank you, Mama." Sira watched her son fall asleep. For the first time in years, she felt something strange like hope, small and fragile. But she pushed it away. Mercy was a word she had learned to fear. Maybe in the morning she would understand what the human really wanted. The night was long. Sira did not sleep. But something in her heart had changed. The human had made his decision, but Sira knew her own. She would protect her son at any cost, even if mercy was only another word for pain. The first night of fear, the room was quiet, except for the soft, even breaths of little Tycho as he slept under the warm blanket Marcus had given him. Sira sat on the edge of the bed, her hands trembling. She looked around the small, unfamiliar space, a place that smelled like bread and wood, so different from the cold, harsh market where they had been just hours before. Her mind was racing with questions and fears she could not escape. What did Marcus want from them? Why had he bought them both? And most terrifying of all, would he keep them safe? Or would this be just another prison? Another chain? Sira wrapped her arms tightly around herself. Her eyes never left the closed door. Every small noise made her flinch, the soft creak of the house settling, the distant hum of city life outside, the faint drip of water somewhere far away. She was waiting for a command, a demand, a sign that the nightmare was not over. But nothing came. Instead, the night dragged on in silence. Thick with uncertainty, her heart beat loudly, as if trying to warn her of the dangers she could not yet see. She looked down at Tycho's sleeping face. So small and peaceful. For a moment, she let herself breathe, feeling his warmth against her. But the weight of their situation pulled her back to fear. She knew the world outside was cruel to aliens like them. And humans even more so. Suddenly, a soft knock at the door startled her. Her eyes snapped to the wooden barrier. "Who is it?" she whispered, clutching Tycho tightly. The door opened slowly, and Marcus stepped inside, carrying a small bowl of steaming liquid. "I thought you might be hungry," he said quietly. Setting the bowl down on the table, Sira stared at him. Unsure how to respond, she wanted to refuse. But the smell made her stomach tighten with hunger. After a long moment, she nodded. "Thank you," she said softly. Marcus did not smile, but there was no cruelty in his eyes. He turned and left without another word, closing the door gently behind him. Sira waited until she heard his footsteps fade away before she picked up the bowl. The liquid was warm and smelled sweet, something like honey mixed with herbs. She gave a small sip to Tycho first. Watching his reaction, he smiled weakly and took a few more sips. Then she drank slowly herself, feeling the warmth spread inside her. For the first time in a long while, her body relaxed just a little. She sat in the dim light, her mind replaying the day's horrors, the market's harsh voices, the traders' sneer, the crowd's cruel laughter, and then Marcus the human who had stepped in, who had bought them both, a man who had not chained them, who had given them food and shelter, but who still kept his secrets tightly locked behind cold eyes. Sierra knew she had to stay alert. Mercy in this world was a rare thing, and it often came with a price. She whispered to Tycho, "Stay close to me, my son. Whatever comes, I will protect you." Tycho stirred in his sleep and mumbled something she could not understand. Sierra brushed his hair gently from his forehead. A sudden wave of sadness hit her. How many nights would they spend like this, afraid and waiting? Hours passed, and the shadows in the room grew long and dark. Sierra tried to sleep, but could not. She thought of the traders who would return for them, the other buyers who might want Tycho alone. Her mind imagined the worst, and tears filled her eyes. She bit her lip hard to stop them from falling. She was a mother, strong and fierce, but even she had limits. Just as dawn began to tint the sky pink and gold, Marcus returned quietly, carrying a small bundle of clean clothes. He placed them on the table and said simply, "For you and your son." Sierra blinked back her tears, confused by this kindness. She wanted to ask him why, but the words stuck in her throat. Marcus nodded once and left again. The lock turned softly behind him. But Sierra realized the door was not locked. He trusted them not to run. Or maybe he did not care if they did. She looked down at Tycho, now waking and rubbing his eyes. "Mother, will we stay here?" he asked in a small voice. Sierra smiled weakly. "For now, yes. We are safe here," but even as she said it, a deep voice in her heart warned her. This safety was fragile, like glass ready to shatter at any moment. The first night was over, but the real test was just beginning. Sierra did not know what Marcus's true intentions were, but she had made one promise she would never break: to keep her son safe, no matter the cost. A test of trust. Morning light crept softly through the thin curtains, painting gentle patterns on the wooden floor. Sarah woke slowly, feeling the warmth of the small room and the steady breathing of her son beside her. For a moment, she let herself believe they might be safe from the cruel hands of traders and strangers. But old fears did not disappear so easily. She sat up carefully, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of danger. Tycho stirred and blinked sleep from his big yellow eyes. "Mother?" he whispered, voice still thick with sleep. "Yes, my son." "We're still here," Sarah said, trying to sound strong, but inside she was a storm of worries. Marcus had not come back since last night. Sarah wasn't sure what to expect from him. Would he give orders? Demand work? Punish them for being weak? She waited, her heart pounding with every second. Suddenly, footsteps echoed softly in the hallway. The door opened slowly, and Marcus stepped in carrying 2 sets of clean clothes. His face was calm, serious, but something gentler flickered in his eyes. He set the clothes on the table without a word. Sierra looked at him, then at the clothes, then back at him. She wanted to ask what this meant, but she swallowed the question. Afraid of his answer, Marcus finally spoke, his voice low but clear. "Change into these. You need to look presentable." Sierra nodded, still cautious. She helped Tycho out of his worn rags and dressed him in the new clothes, simple but clean and soft. She took the other set for herself and changed quickly. When she returned to the room, Marcus was waiting by the door. "Come," he said, motioning for them to follow. Sierra's heart beat faster, fear mixing with curiosity. They walked out into the morning light, the city buzzing quietly around them. Marcus led them to a small workshop filled with tools and machines. Sierra had never seen such things, strange devices that hummed and glowed with power. Tycho's eyes grew wide as he looked around. Marcus crouched down to Tycho's level and smiled softly. "Do you want to learn how to use these?" he asked. Tycho nodded eagerly, forgetting his fears for a moment. Sira watched Marcus closely, trying to understand. The man behind the kindness. He's not like other humans, she whispered to herself. Why does he care? For the next few hours, Marcus taught Tycho's small tasks how to use simple tools, how to fix broken parts. Tycho laughed for the first time in weeks, and Sira felt a flicker of hope. But every time she looked at Marcus, she saw the weight he carried. In his eyes, it was as if he had seen too much pain and cruelty in his life to trust easily. Sira wanted to trust him, but years of suffering taught her to be careful. Later, Marcus sat with Sira, his voice softer than before. I don't want to hurt you or your son, he said. Sira stared at him. Searching for lies, he continued, I want to help, but I need your trust. Sira's hands clenched in her lap. Why should I trust a human? Humans have sold us, beaten us, broken us, she said quietly. Marcus looked down, shame flickering across his face. I know, he said, and I am not like those humans. I will prove it to you. Just then, Tycho ran into the room, holding a small broken toy. Can you fix this, Marcus? He asked eagerly. Marcus smiled and took the toy carefully. Sira saw how gently he handled her son's precious thing. It was a small act, but to her, it spoke volumes. That night, as Sira and Tycho settled to sleep, she thought about the days. Events, could she believe in Marcus's mercy? Could she allow herself to hope? Or was this just another test, one she might fail? She held Tycho close, whispering, We will survive, my son. Together, outside, the stars shone quietly, watching over the fragile new bond between a mother, her son, and a human who dared to show mercy. The secret pain days passed since Marcus had taken Sira and Tycho into his home. The small house felt less like a prison and more like a shelter. But Sira's heart remained heavy. She watched Tycho growing stronger and happier, playing with tools Marcus had given him, but inside her, a secret pain gnawed at her soul. She carried memories no kindness could erase, and scars no blanket could cover. One afternoon, Sira sat alone outside the house. The sun was warm, but could not chase away her dark thoughts. She thought about her past, how she had been treated by humans and aliens alike. The traders who sold her like an object, the cruel words that haunted her. She remembered nights spent hiding, hungry and cold, and worst of all, the fear that one day she might lose Tycho. Her son's safety was her only light in the darkness. Suddenly, Tycho appeared beside her, coughing softly. Mother, he said weakly, I don't feel good. Sira's heart jumped into her throat. She quickly pulled him into her arms and looked into his eyes. His yellow eyes were dimmer than usual, and he felt hot to the touch. Panic took over her. She knew that if Tycho got worse, Marcus might blame her for being weak or careless, or worse, the traders might come back to claim him. Seeing him as damaged goods, Sira's mind raced as she carried Tycho inside. Searching for Marcus, she found him working on a machine, his brow furrowed with concentration. Marcus, Tycho is sick. She called urgently. Marcus dropped his tools and followed her quickly. Together, they examined the boy. Marcus's face grew serious, and he spoke quickly. I'll get medicine. Stay here. Before Sira could say anything, Marcus rushed out, leaving her alone with Tycho. Her hands shook as she held her son close, whispering, Please be okay. Hours passed slowly. Sira watched as Tycho's breathing became shallow, and tears burned her eyes. She feared she might lose him. The only family she had left. Then, Achaeus returned with a small bottle of medicine and a worried look. He carefully gave Tycho the medicine and stayed awake all night, checking on the boy. Sira's fear slowly turned to gratitude. This human was not cruel. He cared in a way she never expected. That night, as Tycho slept peacefully. Sierra finally allowed herself to rest. She thought about Marcus's actions and what they meant. Could she trust him? Could she believe in mercy? Her heart wanted to hope. But her past told her to be careful. The next day, Marcus approached her quietly. "I know trust is hard," he said softly, "but I want to help you both." Sierra looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of lies. "I don't know if I can," she whispered, "but I want to try." Marcus nodded. "That's all I ask." Slowly, a fragile bond began to grow. Sierra learned to accept help, and Marcus learned to understand pain, but deep inside, the fear of losing Tycho never left her. She knew that no matter what happened, she would fight to protect him. Because a mother's love was stronger than any chain or fear. The unexpected offer, the days passed quietly. Yet, Sierra felt a storm brewing inside her heart. She watched Marcus carefully, trying to read his intentions. The man had been kind, even gentle with her and Tycho. But the world was not kind, and trust was a fragile thing one afternoon. Marcus came to the small house, holding a folder of papers and a serious look on his face. Sierra and Tycho sat together as Marcus sat down opposite them. "I want to offer you something different," he began, his voice calm but firm. "Not as slaves, but as helpers. You won't be chained or sold. You will work here, with me, and earn your keep." Sierra blinked, unsure if she heard right. Helpers earn their keep. It was a strange idea, almost like a dream. "Why would you do that?" she asked quietly. "Why would a human offer this to us?" Marcus looked away for a moment, then back at her. "Because I believe in something better," he said simply. He explained that he had a small workshop where he repaired machines, and he needed help. "It's honest work. I want you both to have a chance to live without fear." Tycho's eyes lit up with hope for the first time. Sierra looked at her son's eager face and felt tears rise. Could this be true? Could they really have a fresh start? The weight of the past held her back. What if the traitors come back? She whispered, fear creeping in. Marcus's gaze grew steady. "Then I will stand against them." "No one will take you from here," the city whispered about Marcus's unusual kindness. Other aliens watched cautiously. Some mocked, some envied. Sierra felt their eyes on her every day. But she no longer felt completely alone. She worked hard. Beside Marcus, learning to use tools and machines, Tycho laughed more, played more, and even helped with small tasks. For the first time, Sierra saw a future where they might be free. But freedom came with its own dangers. The traitors were powerful, and some still sought to claim what they considered lost property. Sierra feared what might happen if they returned. She kept a watchful eye on the city streets, always alert, always ready to protect Tycho. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows, Sierra and Marcus heard voices outside, rough and angry. The traitors had come back. Demanding Sierra and Tycho be handed over, Marcus stood firm, his voice calm but strong. "They are not for sale." The city held its breath as words flew between Marcus and the traitors. No weapons were drawn, but the battle was fierce, fought with words and will. Sierra watched Marcus protect them not with chains or force, but with courage. In that moment, she understood something powerful. Mercy was not weakness. It was strength. A choice to protect life even when it was hard. The traitors left, defeated. By Marcus's unyielding stand, Sierra held Tycho close. Tears of relief and hope falling freely. Their new beginning was fragile, but real. Sierra knew that no matter what came next, she and her son had a protector. And maybe, just maybe, mercy was the strongest weapon of all. A new beginning. The city was quiet in the early morning light. But Sierra's heart was pounding like thunder. She stood at the doorway of the small house, holding Tycho's hand tightly. The traitors had come back the night before, demanding that Marcus returned what they called his property, but Marcus had refused. Standing tall and strong against their threats, Sira had never seen such courage, such determination in a human before. For the first time, she felt safe not just from chains, but from fear itself. The traitors were furious and tried to push Marcus to break his will, but Marcus did not move, his eyes cold and unyielding. The crowd gathered around, watching in silence. No one spoke, but everyone felt the power in Marcus's words. "This family is under my protection. You will not touch them," he said clearly. The traitors hissed, but knew they could not win today. One by one, they backed away, their plans broken, their power challenged. Sira looked at Marcus with gratitude she could not put into words. He had given her and Tycho more than freedom. He had given them hope. She knew their journey was not over, but the hardest part was behind them. Marcus turned to her, his voice soft. "You're safe now. This is your home." Tycho smiled shyly and stepped forward, hugging Marcus's leg. Sira laughed softly, the sound bright and warm, like sunlight after a storm. Days turned into weeks, and life began to change. Sira worked alongside Marcus, learning new skills and finding pride in honest work. Tycho grew stronger and happier, laughing freely without fear. The city started to see them not as slaves or outcasts, but as neighbors and friends. Sira's scars remained, but her spirit was healing. Piece by piece, one evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Marcus gathered Sarah and Tycho outside the workshop. He held a small device in his hand, a symbol of new beginnings. "This is a key," Marcus explained. "It means you belong here. No one can claim you now." Sira looked at the device, tears filling her eyes. She took Tycho's hand and smiled. "Thank you, Marcus. You gave us a life." The stars began to twinkle above as night fell. Sira looked up, feeling peace she had never known. She whispered to Tycho, "We are free, my son. We are safe, and we are home." Tycho hugged her tightly, his voice small but sure. "Yes, Mama, forever." Mercy had come in the form of a human, a gift stronger than chains. It was a promise that even in a harsh world, kindness could change fate. Sira knew their story was just beginning, but with Marcus by their side, they could face anything, because sometimes the greatest strength is to show mercy, and sometimes a stranger's heart can save a family lost in darkness. The weight of the future. The days grew longer, and the small family settled into a quiet rhythm. Sira watched Tycho playing near the workshop, his laughter filling the air like music. Marcus worked beside them, his presence steady and calm. But beneath the surface, Sira felt the weight of what was to come. She knew the future was uncertain, filled with challenges they could not yet see. One afternoon, Marcus called Sira aside, his face serious but kind. "We need to talk about what's next," he said. Sira nodded, her heart pounding. Marcus explained that their lives could not stay hidden forever. The city's powers would notice them soon, and they needed a plan. Sira listened carefully, fighting the fear rising inside her. Marcus told her about legal papers, protection orders, and official documents, things alien to her. But more than paperwork, he spoke of a future where Sira and Tycho could truly belong. "You're not just survivors," Marcus said. "You are part of this world now." Sira felt hope and doubt clash inside her. She remembered the long nights of hiding and the cruel hands that had held her down. Could she really believe in this new life? Could she trust that mercy would hold when power came knocking? That night, Sira sat alone under the stars, Tycho asleep inside, dreaming without fear for the first time. She whispered to the sky, "Protect us, please." The silence was deep, but somehow comforting. The next morning, Marcus brought news. Official papers had been prepared. Sara was to be recognized as a free citizen, no longer bound by chains. Or fear, Tico's future was no longer a question, but a promise. Tears filled her eyes as she signed the documents for the first time. She felt a weight lift from her shoulders, heavy chains broken by mercy and courage. But the world was not. Without its dangers, some in the city still whispered and watched. Sira knew that to protect her son and their new life, she had to be strong, stronger than she had ever been before, with Marcus's help. Sira began to build a new life, not just surviving, but living. She learned new skills, made friends, and dreamed of a future where her son could grow free. The past was a shadow, but the future was a light she could follow. As the sun set and the city lights flickered on, Sira stood with Marcus and Tycho. They were no longer just survivors. They were a family, bound not by chains, but by hope, trust, and the mercy of a human's heart.